The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew.
Glory to you, Lord.
Jesus said to his disciples, and this too is part of the Sermon on the Mount, You have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you, offer no resistance to one who is evil. When someone strikes you on the right cheek, turn the other one to him as well. If anyone wants to go to law with you over your tunic, hand him your cloak as well. Should anyone press you into service for 1 mile, go with him for 2 miles. Give to the one who asks of you, and do not turn your back on one who wants to borrow. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise you, Lord.
I think the general attitude that most of us have to certain things in the Gospels that Jesus says that we don't want to follow, like what he says right here, is, you gotta be kidding. But you know what? He's not kidding. Just imagine what the world would be like if we who were Christians paid a little more attention to how we behave in relation to one another, the way that Jesus tells us, rather than paying attention to how everybody else behaves. I think that, for one thing, we would probably have a lot more occasion to suffer, because we would not be offering resistance to evil. We would not be trying to fight everybody that we disagreed with because we're right and they're wrong. And that would cause us suffering in a variety of ways. Maybe the internal suffering of having to swallow our pride, or maybe the external suffering in imitation of Jesus himself, who, when confronted with what was very close to the ultimate evil in his passion and death, offered no resistance. Let's think about that a little bit. Because one of the elements of our experience, if we're honest with ourselves, is that we never convert anybody by arguing with them about what's right or what's true. We convert people only by our example of actually following Jesus. Let's think a little bit about what that might mean in the various controversies of our own day, whether they're political or whether they're religious. We always want to uphold the way of Jesus. Maybe if we paid closer attention to ourselves following the way of Jesus, that might really have an effect. Because our separating everybody into 2 armed camps, each one believing that we are the right, we have the truth, accomplishes nothing except further conflict, dissension, and even bloodshed. So, let's us, each in our own way, examine our lives today and see how well do we conform to the way of Jesus, instead of doing what we often like to do, and that is examine the lives of others and tell them how they should be conforming to the way of Jesus. Let's concentrate on ourselves and see if that might begin to change at least our little corner of the world to become more like Christ.